Andy, two games that didn't happen, of course. How has that affected the general situation as you look ahead to getting back to action this weekend?
Yeah, there can be no hiding our disappointment for sure. You know, we were supposed to have competitive fixtures the last 3 weekends against the same side, and everybody knows that for whatever reason those games have been postponed. So that's obviously no fault of our own, but that leaves us behind the black ball, because the team that we're playing this weekend, Barrytown United, they've played 3 competitive games back to back, and we're without a competitive game in 8 weeks. So obviously, in terms of you're asking about how does that affect things, how does that, you know, affect our preparation, the reality is, you know, we're going there at the weekend as complete underdogs and at a complete disadvantage against Barrytown. They've managed to obviously get their season turned around. I know that 2 of the 3 games were cup games, but they've won their last 2 league fixtures, so they've now opened up a gap on us. So we've got to be really careful this weekend, because if they beat us this weekend, that puts an 8-point gap between us and them, and really for a side that's only got 7 points this season, an 8-point gap will probably be seen as unassailable by them. So for me, how does that affect things? The reality for me is that a lot of my work now is around emotional coaching of my team to get over the disappointment of 3 consecutive weekends of games being cancelled, and how do we manage that? Because of course every midweek we're getting up for a game, and then we get to the weekend and the game is off. And that's really, really hard for the players, because I think we've had the conversations before. The players train really, really hard. They invest an incredible amount of themselves and their time to play those games, and to be in, you know, the National League with 2 months without a game, that's hard for anybody to take.
And it is Barrytown United ladies away, of course. Tough game, as we know, Andy. You've said 5 points behind. When you look at that, it's also an opportunity to close the gap to 2. Is it true to say that this is as much a not lose game, must not lose game, as it is a must win one?
You could look at it like that. I mean, we go into every game looking to see how we can win the game. You know, we've tried to do our homework on Barrytown. The difficulty is there's not much video footage out there of them. There seems to be a lot more of other teams and very little of them. Now, when we look at their recent history, they lost 5 games on the spin, conceding 25 goals. These are league games, and they've turned that around with 2 wins against Pontypridd Town, who is a team that's above them. So emotionally, mentally, they're really in a good place. In terms of technically and tactically, they're in a good place. They've scored 9 and conceded 1 in both of those 2 games. So the fact that they've taken 6 from 6, they'll be absolutely on cloud 9 at the moment. So you're saying, is it a not lose game, or is it a winnable game? Obviously, we're very sort of conscious that they're in a good place and we're without a game for 8 weeks. So, you know, we go into this game absolutely as underdogs. You know, the pressure really is all on them. We're under no pressure whatsoever, because we just haven't played. And we are making that sort of 3.5-hour journey down to Barrytown. Everybody knows that they've beaten us twice this season, so they're a little bit of a nemesis side for us. So, you know, we'll just go as we normally do, try and get ourselves in the best place that we possibly can to perform as best as we can on the day.
As you say there, Andy, they have beaten the New Saints women twice already this season in the league. That was 7-2 and 3-1 here at Park Hall. Do you feel that the gap has closed between the teams since then, especially that 7-2 reversal at Jenner Park earlier in the campaign?
Well, it's difficult to say that it has, isn't it, really? You know, because obviously they're winning games that we're not. You know, we've won the Adjan league game. They've got through in the Welsh FA Cup. They've won 2 league games as opposed to our 1. So if we look at sort of statistically, you can argue that the gap hasn't closed at all. All the progress that we've made, they've made as well. You know, their front 5 or 6 players are really on fire. They seem to have addressed their defensive difficulties and really, really tightened up and stopped the goals going in. And the minute that you can do that and the forwards start scoring goals, you're going to win games. So they've addressed the issues that we're looking to address in our side. They seem to have corrected it, and ultimately it's down to us to put those failings right for our team as well.
And the second phase, as we know, is the Gennaro Adrian Premier Plate. There are 6 games to go. TNS women, at this moment in time, bottom of the pile. But the positive thing is that your destiny is in your own hands.
And it always has been, hasn't it? You know, we knew that. We knew, you know, even if we were sitting on 0 points now, our destiny was probably in our own hands. So, you know, we're in the place that we probably anticipated that we would be. We don't want to be there, of course. We work hard every single week to keep moving forward and make sure that we've got a decent game plan and we are in a good space, you know, emotionally on the pitch and off the pitch to go and try and get those 3 points. And that's, you know, I feel as though I'm saying the same things to you. A lot of my work this week is around cajoling the players, ensuring that we play without fear, making sure that we are together, united as a team, doing all the right things. We know how we want to play. It's just about getting out there, relaxing and doing the best that we can.
As we look at the statistics and the table, the goals for and against columns, the New Saints scored just 13. Barrytown United more than double with 27. But TNS conceded 39. Barrytown United 48. You could look at that from different angles. We do need to score more goals, but at the same time, they are likely to concede as well. So are those statistics things that you bring into your thinking? Yes, we do need to score more, but actually we're not in that bad a place when you look at some of the stats with the bottom 4 teams.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Barrytown lost 2 consecutive games against Cardiff City and Cardiff Met 7-1 and 7-1. You know, so that's a difficult sort of period to recover from, and fair play to them. You know, they've bounced back terrifically well from that. So you could argue, well, it doesn't matter how many you concede in, it's about where do you score your goals to get the points in the game. And I think the final Adjan table after round 14 showed that, because Aberystwyth had barely scored a handful of goals more than us and they sat in 14th place. So it's as much about keeping the ball out of the net as it is putting the ball in the net at the other end. There can be no disguising the fact that you know, we've conceded far too many sloppy goals and we need to rectify that. And at the other end, we've been you know, wasteful. We are the side in the league that have scored the fewest goals. If we want to stay up, we have to correct it at both ends. As long as we're scoring 1 more in each game than we're conceding, I'm not too concerned about clean sheets. I'm concerned about scoring 1 more at the other end. So we've just got to keep going. We know where our strengths lie in this team. We're playing to our strengths and we're going to do absolutely everything that we can to score goals, to win games and get points.
And Andy, you are a thinking manager. You put a lot of thought into the games that are coming up. You have an excellent staff alongside you as well. How much of Sunday's game in terms of tactics and starting lineup have you already got in place? Or, as we often ask, how open to persuasion are you by the 2 training sessions that you will have before the weekend?
Well, we've not been able to do much work up until today on our opponent because we've been concentrating on Port Talbot in consecutive games against Port Talbot. So we're in the throes of understanding how they're playing and what that's going to look like and what our tactics and game plan and formation and selection is going to look like for this weekend. The chances are that we're going to be missing a couple of players. So we've extended our squad this weekend. We've brought some extra players in from the under-19. So we've got something like 22 players on standby for this game at the moment because we don't have a clear idea of who's available and what the team is going to look like. I go back to what I said in my last answer. We're looking at the game plan at the moment around how can we exploit, you know, opportunities that are afforded to us by the opposition in the way that they're setting up and the way that they're playing and trying to beat sides. And if we can do that, you know, we've got every chance of getting something out of this game, whether that's a draw or a win.